On September 16, 2024, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs was arrested in New York City and charged with racketeering, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in relations for money. Prosecutors allege Diddy ran a criminal enterprise involving forced labor, kidnapping, and bribery.
Sean Diddy Combs is facing another long list of sexual misconduct allegations. He's in jail awaiting trials on charges of trafficking women for sex parties. He's pleaded not guilty. An attorney in Houston says he represents 120 people who say Combs abused them as well. The allegations are disturbing.
Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of.
Combs' lawyer said he denies any claim that he sexually abused anyone, including minors.
The last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings. What came out of today's hearing? Number one, the government acknowledged that they offered Combs a plea deal. Combs acknowledged he has no interest in taking that. They're going to move forward with the trial. They also talked about the jury selection process, which one legal expert I spoke to said is probably the most important thing that you want to pay close attention to before the actual trial starts.
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes. As his lawyers argue, the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
Now, as far as jury selection goes, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that both sides expect to have all of this done in the matter of 3 days. Now, given just how high profile this trial is, I was kind of stunned that they seem very confident that they will be able to seat a jury in that amount of time.
At the center of it all are so-called freakoffs, orchestrated erotic activities where Diddy allegedly directed men and women in X-rated performances. Many were said to be unknowingly filmed and blackmailed. Purportedly, victims, some underage, were controlled using threats, violence, narcotics, and money. Raids on Diddy's homes uncovered videos, firearms, and curiously, over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant.
What started as a private lawsuit exploded into one of the most disturbing celebrity trials in modern history. Sean Diddy Combs, once considered hip-hop royalty and a business mogul worth hundreds of millions, is now at the center of a chilling federal case involving sex trafficking, racketeering, and disturbing abuse allegations. But this isn't just a story about criminal charges, it's about what really happened behind closed doors, far away from the red carpets and platinum records. The government says these weren't just parties, they were carefully orchestrated events, allegedly designed to degrade, control, and exploit women, especially his longtime girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. They called them freakoffs, and what we've learned from courtroom testimony has left the public stunned. We're talking about baby oil pools, masked voyeurs, coordinated drug use, and what one witness described as live sex performances directed by Diddy himself. From Cassie's graphic testimony to shocking evidence uncovered during the FBI raid on his Miami mansion, every detail has peeled back the curtain on a lifestyle darker than anyone imagined. This isn't tabloid gossip anymore. This is federal court under oath, and the facts are hard to ignore. Let's break down the top 21 most sickening revelations.
And so we're going to have a lot of information coming at these jurors fast and furiously. We will see Sean Diddy Combs in court today to decide what the fate will be. But opening statement, Sarah, this is the moment you're going to hear from the prosecution to lay out their case. What will they allege? What do they want the jurors to know, to hang on to, and what will be an 8 to 10 week trial?
If there's one image that stuck with everyone during Cassie Ventura's testimony, it was the so-called baby oil pool. Yes, an actual inflatable kiddie pool filled entirely with Johnson & Johnson baby oil, heated and used during the alleged freak-off parties. According to Cassie, this wasn't a one-time thing. It became part of a bizarre, exhausting ritual, one she says left her physically ill and emotionally numb. Cassie testified that before these events, she'd often be tasked with shopping for candles, outfits, and lubricants, sometimes from upscale adult stores like Pleasure Chest or Hustler. In some texts presented by the defense, she even joked about buying sweats and vitamins while prepping for the night. But in court, she made it clear, this wasn't fun, it was expected. Even more disturbing, the federal government says they found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil linked to Diddy. It wasn't just used lightly. Cassie described suffering from friction burns in her mouth due to the oil and other substances used during the events. One defense attorney tried to downplay it by asking if the baby oil was laced with drugs. Cassie's answer? Not the ones I took. The implication? She never had a choice.
Today, in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is sex trafficking, racketeering, and more. The two sides are now in the process of selecting a jury of 12, plus all.
The parties didn't just rely on mood lighting and baby oil, they ran on a constant cocktail of drugs. Cassie testified that the freak-offs often lasted 36 to 72 hours, with the longest stretching over 4 days. To keep going, she said she was regularly given ecstasy, cocaine, Molly, ketamine, and even GHB, a powerful depressant often referred to as a date drug. In one exchange, the defense asked Cassie if she experimented with GHB during her relationship with Diddy. Her response? Yes. She also admitted to taking ketamine and psychedelics. Prosecutors allege the drug use wasn't always voluntary. Cassie says she needed substances just to disassociate from the trauma unfolding around her. During the FBI raid on Diddy's Miami mansion, agents uncovered a disturbing stash. Pills of all shapes and colors, baggies with white powder, and even a rolled-up $100 bill. A former assistant claimed Diddy popped Percocet by day and ecstasy by night. One civil lawsuit alleged that some of the baby oil might have even been laced with GHB, a claim Cassie denied experiencing firsthand but didn't dismiss outright. These weren't just drug-fueled parties. According to testimony, they were marathons of control, fear, and numbed consent.
We're also expecting to hear from an escort who is seen as a witness in this case as well. We heard last week from the defense they're planning on attacking Ventura as well, saying that she was mutual in the domestic violence in this case, saying that she was violent toward Combs.
Enter Sheree Hayes, better known by his stage name, The Punisher. A professional exotic dancer, Hayes was hired by a mysterious woman named Janet in 2012 for what he thought would be a standard birthday gig. He arrived at Trump Tower expecting a crowd. Instead, it was just one woman, Cassie Ventura, in a bathrobe, asking him to create a sexy scene using bowls of baby oil. What Hayes didn't realize was that the real audience was hiding in plain sight. Cassie's husband, as she called him, eventually entered the room completely nude, wearing a face veil that only revealed his eyes. Hayes later identified him as Sean Diddy Combs. According to testimony, Diddy silently watched, sometimes pacing, sometimes masturbating, while giving subtle stage directions. Move the light, angle your body, apply more oil. The entire setup was methodical. The lights were dimmed, candles, possibly electric, flickered. Furniture was draped in sheets. Bowls of baby oil floated in water. Hayes said he was paid $2,000 for the night and instructed not to speak to or acknowledge Diddy at all. He would later join Cassie and Diddy for up to a dozen more of these freak-off encounters, always at odd hours, always on Diddy's terms.
And we have more breaking news. Opening statements are underway in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. Prosecutors claim Combs ran a criminal enterprise with his trusted inner circle and committed crime after crime for 20 years. Now the defense is responding, accusing the government of trying to turn choices among consenting adults into a racketeering case.
Cassie Ventura's testimony didn't stop at control or drugs. It ventured into something far more disturbing: humiliation as a weapon. According to her, Diddy orchestrated degrading acts during freak-offs that went well beyond physical intimacy. In one instance, she claimed Diddy directed male escorts to urinate on her. When prosecutors asked if she consented, her answer was simple and chilling: no. There was no conversation, no warning, just an act done for his pleasure, not hers. Cassie also described situations where she was forced to continue participating even during her menstrual cycle. She recalled being expected to perform through pain, discomfort, and emotional distress. She even alleged that Diddy sometimes demanded that an escort's bodily fluids be placed on his body in a separate room. These weren't moments of passion. They were performances, according to Cassie, where she was expected to act happy while feeling disgusting and worthless. She said she took drugs just to mentally detach from what was happening. To the jury, prosecutors painted Diddy not as a party host, but as a director of real-life, non-consensual performances, using sex, power and humiliation as tools of dominance. This wasn't adult entertainment. This was, as Cassie described it, emotional warfare.
We expect to see firearms and ammunition that were seized during search warrants at Sean Combs' homes. There should be drugs also alluded to in the indictment and medical records of the victims showing that there was force used.
When you see these RICO cases and you see here like 8 weeks of testimony in this, you tend to say, oh, this must be a complicated case.
The physical abuse Cassie described on the stand was just as harrowing as the emotional torment. She testified that Diddy didn't just control her, he beat her. Hard, repeatedly. In court, the jury was shown photos of black eyes, bruised shoulders, and bloodied lips. Injuries, Cassie said, came directly from Diddy's hands. She claimed the violence wasn't random. It often followed disagreements about freakoffs or moments where she tried to assert herself. Perhaps the most damning piece of evidence, a surveillance video from 2016 shown to the jury but leaked to CNN and viewed by millions. In the footage, Diddy is seen chasing Cassie through a hotel hallway, grabbing, shoving, and kicking her as she tries to escape. Cassie testified that she was fleeing a freakoff and that the assault captured on video was not an isolated incident. According to her, these beatings would happen frequently, especially when she didn't comply with Diddy's demands. She said he once stomped on her head while she was already on the ground. The courtroom was silent as she recounted these moments, not just because of the brutality, but because it painted a portrait of someone who used fear to enforce obedience, not love.
The final phase of jury selection in Sean Diddy Combs' federal criminal trial is getting underway. 12 jurors and 6 alternates. They are expected to be seated this morning, and then opening statements begin. We could see also the prosecution's key witness.
Cassie didn't just testify about freakoffs. She described living in a psychological prison where Diddy controlled nearly every aspect of her life. From what she wore to what color her nails were painted, nothing was left to chance. Even the lighting in the room during freakoffs had to be approved. She said everything had to be perfect, but the perfection wasn't hers. It was his. The control extended far beyond the bedroom. Cassie told the jury that her music career suffered dramatically because Diddy's demands took priority. She described missing studio sessions, delaying releases, and putting her creative work on the back burner, all because she had to prepare for, participate in, or recover from freakoffs. According to her, what started as a romantic relationship slowly morphed into a job, one she never signed up for. At one point, Cassie said she felt more like a sex worker than an artist. She claimed Diddy expected her to send him explicit messages constantly just to keep him sexually excited. Prosecutors alleged that her days were split between planning freakoffs, coordinating with escorts, and earning her place in Diddy's life. In her words, she didn't feel like a partner. She felt owned.
Combs' former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, testified today. You remember that CNN last year published a hotel surveillance video from 2016 showing Combs attacking Ventura. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. If convicted, Sean Combs could spend the rest of his life in prison.
While the prosecution painted a picture of abuse, the defense came armed with a strategy. Cassie wasn't a victim, they argued. She was a willing participant. To prove it, they brought out dozens of text messages between Cassie and Diddy that seemed flirtatious, even playful. In one message, Diddy asked, "When do you want to freak off, LOL?" And Cassie replied, "I'm always ready to freak off, LOL, LOL." The defense used moments like this to argue that the relationship was not just consensual, it was mutually enthusiastic. They pointed to evidence that Cassie often helped plan the freakoffs, booking hotel rooms, purchasing candles, baby oil, and lingerie. In some texts, she described shopping trips to adult stores like Pleasure Chest or asked if she should pack sweats or reg clothes before setting up the scene. They also noted that Cassie and Diddy exchanged loving messages, calling each other ride or die and expressing deep emotional attachment over more than a decade. But the prosecution countered, just because someone participates doesn't mean they want to. Just because someone plans doesn't mean they aren't under pressure. To them, the question wasn't about love. It was about control masked as consent.
this morning. That's what we're hoping to see happen any time now. And less than 30 minutes ago, Kate, it was a flurry of activity behind us at this courthouse as we saw people make their way inside of the courtroom. One of Diddy's accusers actually in the front of that line waiting to get inside.
When federal agents raided Diddy's $48 million Miami mansion in March 2024, they weren't just looking for drugs. They were looking for proof of a lifestyle that prosecutors claimed was built on coercion, exploitation, and fear. What they found stunned even veteran investigators. Inside the sleek waterfront property, agents uncovered a staggering collection of items that matched Cassie's testimony down to the last disturbing detail. There were dozens of boxes of high heels, ropes, lingerie, and adult toys, some too graphic to name. Shelves lined with Astroglide, stacks of baby oil bottles, and even sexual enhancement products banned by the FDA were documented and photographed. One room contained writing on a bathroom mirror in lipstick. "What do you want?" and "You are legend. Breathe." Alongside the sexual paraphernalia were more serious discoveries. Multiple firearms, including AR-15-style rifles with defaced serial numbers, ammunition, and containers allegedly filled with cocaine and MDMA. Bags of pills were photographed next to rolled-up dollar bills inside designer bags. To prosecutors, it was physical validation of Cassie's story. To the defense, it was circumstantial. But to the public, the images were jaw-dropping, undeniable glimpses into a secret life now on trial.
There is the video, the surveillance video from 2016 in a hotel showing the vicious attack by Sean Combs on Cassie Ventura. And of course, there's other evidence alluded to in the indictment. We expect to see some of these bottles of baby oil and lubricant from the so-called Freakoff.
The shockwaves from this trial are already being felt far beyond the courtroom. What began as a civil lawsuit settled in just one day has unraveled into a full-scale federal investigation that could reshape how the entertainment industry views its most powerful players. Cassie's $20 million settlement may have closed one chapter, but the government's criminal case against Sean Diddy Combs is still unfolding, and it's getting darker by the day. More witnesses are scheduled to testify, including other alleged victims, former employees, and insiders who claim they saw everything. Prosecutors have hinted that even more evidence, including unreleased videos, photos, and financial records, could still be brought forward. The trial is expected to last at least 7 weeks, and each passing day introduces new details that reinforce one chilling narrative. This wasn't just a party lifestyle gone too far. This was a pattern of control, humiliation, and abuse. If convicted, Diddy could face decades behind bars. But even before a verdict is reached, his public image has already been torched. The allegations, the video footage, and the testimony have revealed a side of him the public never knew, or maybe refused to see. Now, there's no looking away.
Another expectation that we have today, we're hoping to hear from some of the government's witnesses. They said they're hoping to present 3 witnesses this week, and that includes Cassie Ventura, like you mentioned, longtime former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs. She's seen as one of the central witnesses to the prosecution's case.
This trial has done more than expose one man's alleged dark secrets. It's pulled back the curtain on a world of power, silence, and manipulation hiding in plain sight. From baby oil pools to bruises behind closed doors, every testimony has chipped away at the myth of untouchable celebrity. Whether Diddy is found guilty or not, the damage is done. The industry is watching, the public is listening, and for once, the silence surrounding abuse and control at the highest levels is being shattered. The truth, no matter how sickening, is finally center stage.